70% of agents will quit in their first year, and almost all agents will quit by year 5. And I think it's the second stat that's particularly interesting given the timing of the housing market. And despite the number of people that are quitting, I also think that it's easier than ever to stand out if you're thinking about getting into the real estate industry or restarting your career today. My name is Patrick Choi. I've built multiple 7-figure real estate businesses, and I want to help others to make more money in their real estate businesses. So let's bring some context into the conversation. First, the housing market bottomed out in 2012, and all the way up to 2021, we really saw this explosion of home prices. And it was really propagated by two things: constrained inventory levels and extreme enthusiasm around buying a house as a result of historically low interest rates. The average 30-year mortgage was in the low 4%. And in the years of 2020 to 2021, we even saw rates dip below 3%. And it was really just that imbalance of buyers and sellers that created an explosion of home prices. Essentially, every new home hitting the market was basically an auction-like scenarios where home buyers had to compete not only with their price, but also with their terms. And here in Seattle, the median home price doubled, going from around $340,000 to $831,000 in that same time frame. And that's a staggering increase of 144%. And I think one of the craziest things that I ever saw was back in 2017, I had a listing where the buyer made their earnest money deposit in the amount of the full purchase price, made it non-refundable, and deposited straight into the seller's account, not in escrow. Needless to say, the real estate agents were really operating in easy mode during that time, and it's easy to find success as a listing agent and look like the hero when every house is getting multiple offers and all contingencies are being waived. And it's easier to be a buyer's agent when the majority of buyers are willing to pay, sometimes 10, 20% above list price, ask 0 questions, and again, waive all of their contingencies. So the question then becomes, well, what's changed? Well, in 2022, we also saw something that we had never seen before in the modern housing market. We saw a doubling of interest rates in a single calendar year. Interest rates went from being below 3% to peaking out and hitting almost 8% at the end of 2023. So now my argument is that we're still very much in a seller's market here in Seattle, despite some of the headlines that you might be seeing. And if anyone is interested in my thoughts on that, I might make a separate video, but the higher interest rates killed a lot of the enthusiasm around buying a house. You can also make the argument that higher interest rates did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was to curb inflation. And we saw that in housing. We went from having 20% year-over-year appreciation, which is not historically normal, to now seeing more moderate and gradual increases in the median home price. So what does that now mean for real estate professionals today? And how does that relate to more people quitting in the industry? Well, now it actually takes more skill and finesse to negotiate and navigate a real estate transaction. In the past, you could literally be a potato and still sell a house with multiple offers and really look like the hero. And today, you need to be realistic and have an intelligent pricing strategy. Marketing needs to be perfectly on point, and every property that I bring to the market is professionally staged and pre-inspected. So that way I can get in front of all of the things that a buyer may try to use as negotiating leverage during a second round of negotiation following their home inspection. So there's a lot more work that goes into selling a property today, but not only that, sellers have less motivation to enter the market today. Sellers are rich with equity, but even if they sold their house that they're in today, bought another one, even if it was priced better, and their monthly payment might actually be more than what they're paying today. Again, the higher rates in today's environment has cooled off a lot of the enthusiasm around buying. Bridge that into buyers today are moving slower and they're more cautious, and they now realize that they have a little bit more leverage in the market today. Long story short, we've really been spoiled by the housing market, and a lot of the people are having trouble acclimating to the new normal. Now, coming back to the timing of people quitting the industry though, things started to get harder around 2022, and it's now 2026, and we're about to hit that 5-year threshold where almost all agents end up quitting the business. Now, here's actually the silver lining, is that I think that it's easier than ever to stand out in the real estate industry, and it's really for two reasons. It's easier to, number one, build trust at scale with social media, and it doesn't cost anything but your time and effort. And number two, AI and automation fatigue. I think there's a huge appetite for real customer connections and good customer service. Don't get me wrong, I think that AI is an excellent tool and I use it every day, but I don't use it to replace the human connection in my business. So let's break down the first reason, and I think the second reason is naturally going to be an extension of the first. The interesting thing about the real estate business is that people aren't choosing the agent based on who they think is the most qualified. I know this because the vast majority of buyers and sellers that were surveyed as using an agent admit that they went with the first agent that they spoke to. And what's funny is that we actually have this saying in our business: you don't have to be good, you just have to be there. But in most cases, I think people have a tendency to choose the person that they feel like aligns with their core values. Or in other words, they're simply choosing an agent that they like, a friend, a family member, or someone that's recommended by a friend or family member. With social media today, you no longer have to be a big brand or spend a ton of money to be able to get your messaging out to an audience of hundreds or thousands of people. And the beautiful thing is, you also don't need to reach a big audience to make it in this business. Real estate is a hyper local business, and I would much rather reach a few people with my messaging that have a good probability of working with me than something that goes viral with a whole bunch of people that will never take action on buying or selling a house. Now, I've established that social media is the perfect megaphone for your brand. It's also the perfect window into your life. Now, some of you are going to be really uncomfortable with this, but remember, people work with the agent that they like. They don't want to interface with a faceless brand. And when making one of the most important decisions in their life, buying or selling a home, people aren't selecting an agent based on the firm that they're affiliated with. They're more interested in the person. So it's really important when crafting your personal brand that you're willing to shine a spotlight into your personal life, as well as highlighting your real estate acumen. That kind of bridges into the next reason, which is AI and automation fatigue. In virtually every industry, customer service is a dying craft. And I think that there's a huge appetite for real and authentic connection. Now, don't get me wrong, I think AI and automation are great tools to help you scale your business, but I don't want to use it as a crutch or a replacement for human interaction. Real estate is a people business, and I'm not convinced that AI can ever replace the agent. So if you can combine the visibility and authenticity of using social media platforms and weaving in the human connection, I think that's ultimately the winning formula in today's real estate industry. Lastly, no matter what the market is doing, what's happening in the economy or what's happening in the world, there will always be people that need to buy and sell a house. It's your job to get in front of those people because they need your help. Okay, I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I would appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm pretty new to YouTube, and I'd like to get my first 100 subscribers. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.